Good evening. If you use the internet for any amount of time at all, you are likely aware of 4chan, one of the oldest image boards on the internet. In its time, it has produced many internet legends, things like SCP or the Backroom. What you likely aren't as familiar with is a variety of the smaller hoaxes produced on the site. Tonight, I'd like to dive into some of these hoaxes. What made them so believable? Why were they made? And what terrified those that came across them? I'm your host here at the Nocturne Collective. You may call me Nico. Settle in, stay warm, and whatever you do,
Don't look behind you. What?
school shootings and violent incidents at schools are incidents that are, unfortunately, not all too uncommon. It seems as if there is a new incident every time just before such leaves the news cycle. But what if there was a school shooting that was never reported on? This is the idea behind the 2006 volleyball incident and why the hoax became so widespread. On April 3rd, 2017, an anonymous user on 4chan posted to the poll board providing the following image, sort of like an iceberg before those came around. With it, the text, "How deep are you in conspiracies?" And indeed, most of what's on the image are your standard fare hoaxes and conspiracies, until we get to the bottom, where we see the 2006 volleyball incident. Naturally, other users on the forum begin to inquire about the incident. The OP came back sometime later to expand on it, simply stating that they heard about the incident while on a trip, and that was either a shooting or bombing at a high school volleyball game that took place in a rural town in 2006, leaving around 20 casualties. Despite such a high casualty rate, and other real incidents happening around the time, there was no widespread media coverage on the incident, nor any info about it online. With hindsight and of course familiarity with the hoax and hoaxes like it, it's easy to see that this is a complete lie. However, the vagueness of what was described and bunching it in with other actual conspiracies and hoaxes led to people latching onto it immediately. From there, the theory crafting began. Some people suggested the Mandela effect, or simply conflating ideas and reports from other shootings into one. Others suggested the possibility of some massive government cover-up. With only theories to subsist off of them, the believability of the incident began to lose its steam. That was until rumors popped up claiming images and footage of the incident actually existed, with other 4chan users and individuals around the internet claiming to have seen it. What footage and images we do have of the incident are your standard fare falsified / photoshopped images, even reminiscent of what you might see in analog horror. Low quality, VHS filter over top tied imperfections, that sort of thing. Now, with all that in mind, again, not all that believable, but it's important to understand why it was. The power of suggestion is an incredible thing. If I said something crazy, like, I worked at an aquarium with the sharks, they actually get real human meat from cadavers to feed to the sharks, it's a big cover-up, nobody knows about it except the feeders, you'd call me crazy. But then you'd think about it later. With no concrete way to research it, nor being able to disprove if I did or did even work in an aquarium at all, you'd say, huh, maybe you was telling the truth. And then you'd tell the fact to your buddies in passing one night, and they'd start to believe it too. It's not something you're 100% convinced of, but you believe it enough to be a potentially true fun fact you repeat. That's the idea with the 2006 volleyball incident. Most people that initially became aware of it weren't convinced of it, just curious. And with only the information provided by OP to work off of and suggestions it was a cover up, well, then maybe it was true. The images only served to fuel the fire. Even if you thought, well, those images are fake, you had to think maybe they're recreated based off memories of ones that are real. The grifter is regarded as a few things: a hoax, an urban legend, a creepypasta. Whilst the latter is the most accurate description, there are those that believe there may be more truth to the grifter than is let on. On August 10th, 2009, user the_sopsilist posted a thread to 4chan's X-board discussing a supposed snuff film known as The Grifter, claiming the contents were so horrific that it ruined something deep within his soul. He would go on to provide 3 images taken from the video, all of an infant, and from there, things took off. Users began to speak on the authenticity of such a film. Some claimed to have seen it themselves. In September of the same year, a YouTube channel by the name of Joe Jacob 666 would upload a video titled The Grifter. Now let the footage speak for itself. Yeah, kind of a nothing burger. And indeed it was. Nobody, especially on 4chan, was really buying it. Some even claiming discussions about the grifter were made just to annoy users of X. And that certainly seemed to be the case. The Sopsilist himself would even come forward and later admit that the story was indeed purely fiction. However, even today, I've seen some people speak on the authenticity of the grifter, or about how the grifter wasn't real, but what was described in the video comes from something real. Younger people, admittedly, being the ones who have any belief of this, but still. When it comes to snuff films and recordative acts of violence, you'd be hard-pressed to imagine something that probably hasn't happened. However, when it comes to the grifter, the story around it, and anything under such a name, is completely fake. Admittedly, this one is less of a hoax and more of a troll, but it fits the MO and did have heads turning for a little bit. This didn't start on 4chan, however, its spread was only because of 4chan users, especially in the volume that it was spread. On August 4th, 2014, an anonymous user hopped onto Omegle and decided to mess around. The user stated as follows: "I have a gift for you, strangers. At latitude 37 point, longitude -121 point, the body of 12-year-old Julissa Romero, stabbed 17 times. She has been missing 5 months. Enjoy." Julissa Romero was a real person. She really did go missing, and the coordinates provided led to a location 95 miles away from where she was from. Those are the only facts provided from the statement I just read. Though for anyone at the time who saw the image reposted, they couldn't be blamed for thinking it was very real and very disturbing. Users on 4chan's B board who came across the image could see from a mile away just how fake it was, though, a fact that became amusing to them, especially once they saw how many people were believing it. Taking advantage of the situation, Channers quickly took to report the image to major news organizations, claiming it was real and worth looking into. Meanwhile, others spread the story online, throughout 4chan, Reddit, and elsewhere, all claiming it to be real. This didn't last long, fortunately. The Salinas City Police, where Jalissa Romero was from, received dozens of calls, taking them seriously enough to look into. The results of their investigation? The girl was alive, with her family in Texas. What was at those coordinates? Nothing. Just a construction site. It was a complete lie, for no reason other than to cause some panic. At least, that was the intention of those on 4chan who spread it around. As for the one who made the claim, who knows what was going on through their sick and twisted head. Let's not beat around the bush here. You know the image. You know the guy that made the image. Like with the last one, this one didn't exactly start on 4chan, but it was proliferated by Channers and made out to be a much bigger deal and realer deal than it actually was. For those who don't know or are too young to remember, Momo was a statue created by Keisuke Iso for Japanese special effects company Link Factory. Pictures of it were posted to Instagram, regarded as creepy, made their way onto places like Reddit, where they were also seen and regarded as creepy. Momo already had its roots taking off as something of an urban legend, specifically on the Spanish-speaking side of the web around 2018, where users developed the urban legend that Momo was an entity that could add you on WhatsApp that would speak to you, having you play something of a game, or the Momo challenge.
Let's say, Momo, what's good, homie?
Largely, this was aimed at young kids, reminiscent of earlier spooky challenges or rituals from years prior, including staples of the genre such as self-harm and suicide. Slowly, Momo began to spread, making its way onto YouTube and content aimed at younger audiences, not just the Spanish-speaking side of the internet. 4chan specifically wasn't interested in scaring kids. They were, like with the Omegle murder confession, interested in scaring adults. Pushing panic online and to news outlets, claims came in about a real suicide caused by the Momo challenge, and various self-harm incidents. The claim about the suicide being false, of course, but from it, there were many others, to the point where official media outlets and internet safety organizations had to come out and state that there was no Momo and there was no Momo challenge, largely to get concerned parents to stop worrying. Here's the thing. Sure, some kids were scared by it, but hardly anyone actually thought the Momo challenge was real, or that anyone was getting hurt by it. That was, of course, until 4chan came along. They didn't start the hoax, but arguably they made it. What makes a good host believable isn't proof, it's volume. The more people say something is real, even without any proof, the more you have to start thinking, well, if everyone is saying it, then it must be true. The school shooting lost media, the snuff film so horrific they'll make you want to take your own life, wildfire hoaxes that stemmed from a lie, and a fake challenge that stemmed from a real urban legend. When it comes to something scary that could be real, 4chan just can't be beat. Or maybe, just maybe, there's more truth to these stories than we've been led to believe. Thank you. Good night.